And we roll along hour two. You're watching CNN. I'm Brooke Baldwin. Thank you for being with me. Less than 24 hours after refusing to say he would absolutely accept the results of the election, Donald Trump doing a reversal, perhaps trying to undo the damage his debate comments inflicted. You may have seen him at the debate saying, quote, "I'll keep you in suspense" as to whether or not he would ultimately accept that final vote. Yet, here was Donald Trump just an hour ago.
I would like to promise and pledge to all of my voters and supporters and to all of the people of the United States that I will totally accept the results of this great and historic presidential election if I win. Of course, I would accept a clear election result, but I would also reserve my right to contest or file a legal challenge in the case of a questionable result. Right? And always I will follow and abide by all of the rules and traditions of all of the many candidates who have come before me. Always.
Will those words ease the concerns of people like, say, Republican Senator John McCain, who is fighting to hold on to that Senate seat in Arizona? In a speech today in Ohio, he released a statement saying, quote, "I didn't like the outcome of the 2008 election, but I had a duty to concede, and so I did so without reluctance. A concession isn't just an exercise in graciousness. It is an act of respect for the will of the American people, a respect that is every American leader's first responsibility." So, joining me now, CNN chief political analyst Gloria Borger, associate editor and columnist for Real Clear Politics, A.B. Stoddard, and CNN senior Washington correspondent Jeff Zeleny. So great to have all of you on. And Gloria, I was watching you, post game last night, and then first with that, suspense line from Donald Trump. You said it. I thought you said it perfectly. It sounds like a game, sounds like a reality TV producer would say, not something that the man who wants to become the leader of the free world would say.
Right, and it's about leadership, and it's about taking responsibility. And for the outcome, no matter what it is, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And I think Donald Trump today, Brooke, tried to clean it up a little bit, because at first he made a joke about it and he said, "I'll accept the outcome if I win," but he also said, "I reserve the right to contest an election if the results are too close." Well, what happens in most states is that the secretaries of state have a threshold, and if it's less than that certain number, in the state of Florida in the year 2000, for example, it was a 0.5%. And if it is within that range, as deemed by the Secretary of State, then there is an automatic recount. You don't have to file a legal challenge. You don't have to contest. The state will actually do it for you, because the state wants to make sure that the results are accurate.
But so on that, Jeff Zeleny, hearing Kellyanne Conway with Dana Bash, Gloria mentioned, 2000 and that automatic recount, that was a Florida law because it was so close. I don't really think it's a fair comparison. What happened in 2000 and what we're watching today? Do you agree?
It's not a fair comparison at all. And if you listen to Donald Trump say it, he said that Al Gore contested it. As all of us who have covered the 2000 recount know, as Gloria knows, it's Bush v. Gore. James Baker and the Bush team was the first one to file legal action. But look, it's an entirely different situation. In the run-up to the 2000 campaign, there was no suggestion from Al Gore or George W. Bush the election would be rigged. That's why so many Republicans were so alarmed by this last night, Brooke. I can't even remember something that has set off John McCain as much, at least recently, as this. He said he conceded in 2008 because it was his duty as an American. And we all remember that speech, as Gloria and I were talking about earlier. It was a gracious concession speech in every way. So I think that this is just one way that Donald Trump got in his own way here in what was otherwise actually a pretty good debate for him. He was making his points, perhaps not enough to turn the tide here, but an entirely different situation than 2000.
All right. Let me move off that and AB on women. How do you think Donald Trump did with women watching last night?
Well, I don't think, first of all, he talked about the allegations against him as being debunked, and they haven't been debunked. It's his word against theirs. He put them all in the same collective group of people he doesn't, quote, know, and he thinks that they're, I guess they've been paid or hired by the Clinton campaign. That was his theory here, or they want it to be famous for 10 minutes, and that's why they're doing it. So I don't think that was very successful way to grow his vote. But Donald Trump has not been trying to grow his vote for weeks. He's really focused on his enthusiastic supporters, and he's talking about conspiracy theories and this, cabal of international banks and Paul Ryan and the media and Hillary trying to steal the election from him and Mexican billionaires and stuff. But he's really not trying to make outreach and inroads with voters who he could bring into the fold to get to a win on November 8th. So last night, calling her a nasty woman and saying those allegations have been debunked was just more of the same. He wasn't reaching out to other people that he needs to bring in. He
said no one respects women more than me, no one, and then he calls Hillary Clinton a nasty woman. Gloria, bigger picture, do you think that one line will haunt him?
I think yes, it wasn't a great line. I think also the notion where he said, I didn't even apologize to my wife because I had nothing to apologize for when it came to all of those allegations against him. I think, I think that's something that women will listen to and maybe shake their heads about. If he is trying to appeal to moderate, suburban, Republican women who don't like Hillary Clinton and are sort of scratching their heads thinking, all right, I don't know, I don't like her, I don't really want to vote for her. And if he's trying to reach out to them, which as A.B. points out he hasn't been doing a lot of lately, this wasn't the way to do it, particularly since Hillary Clinton's responses on the question of women, Hillary Clinton's discussion of the question on abortion, I thought was quite effective for her base. I don't know.
Do you think it's fair though, Gloria, that Hillary Clinton did not fully answer because of Trump? She didn't fully answer some of the questions.
She didn't answer a lot of the questions. I mean, she got asked a question about WikiLeaks, and then she turned it to the Russian hacking, which is what they always do. She never actually answered a question on WikiLeaks. You could argue it was up to Trump to say, wait a minute, she needs to answer the question about WikiLeaks. She kind of just deflected it. So I think that she's pretty good at deflecting, and he's not very good at going back at her at it and saying, wait a minute, you didn't answer follow the question. Up. Yeah.
Right. And Brooke, he even interrupted her on the Clinton Foundation. She was kind of having a hard time. I thought as I was watching it, answering some questions about the Clinton Foundation. He interrupted and sort of gave her a bit of a lifeline there. I'm sure that wasn't his intent, but that is sort of what happened. Then he pivoted to his own foundation, which has problems of its own here. So it just in terms of, we've said this a lot, but it's true, practice actually works. So this is an example where Donald Trump has defied sort of what conventional campaigns are like. But these debates are the most conventional aspect of a campaign, and it just didn't work well for him after we look at all three debates because he didn't prepare for them, and they're not like his rallies where he spends so much time in.
Let me just play one more piece of sound, A.B., the question to you, just to set it up. This is Trump talking about, Mosul and the Iraq government and the Clinton campaign. Here's what he said.
But you know who the big winner in Mosul is going to be after we eventually get it? And the only reason they did it is because she's running for the office of president. And they want to look tough. They want to look good. He violated the red line in the sand. And he made so many mistakes, made all mistakes. That's why we have the Great Migration. But she wanted to look good for the election. So they're going in.
A.B. What?
And what is your question, Brooke? That was definitely...
File that under alternate universe category?
That was definitely... I remember being on Twitter at the time of that answer. And that definitely was an eyebrow raiser and a head scratcher for some people who couldn't figure out what he was saying. But Look, I think that he believes that the Iraq War vote of Hillary Clinton's is a weak spot for her. He believes that he can continue to say that he always opposed the Iraq War, and that he believed that once in we had to stay, even though in 2007 he said it's time to pull out and call it a victory. There's obviously all this conflicting information about his accounts of this over the years, but he believes that he's making a case that the Obama administration is doing this to make Hillary look good, and I don't think he gained any points at that moment. I think that he had definitely his best debate, I want to say, of all three. Yeah. And he did some preparation, but he does have a way of stepping on his own message.
AB, Gloria, Jeff, thank you. To Jeff's point about, and AB there on preparation for debate, Hillary Clinton, she was prepared. She was prepared for Donald Trump to bring out his rigged election claim. Here you go.
There was even a time when he didn't get an Emmy for his TV program 3 years in a row, and he started tweeting that the Emmys were rigged against him.
Should have gotten it.
This is a mindset. This is how Donald thinks.
That kind of conflict is what